Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us on the Payoneer India Forum 2021.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks so much. So, Robert, we are going to have this little conversation for our customers who are there with us today. And, we would want to first start, one of the questions to begin with is, get to know you a little better and know your professional career highlights. Now, you have had a very illustrious career in fintech and the payment space. How would you describe your personal journey and any highlights that you would like to share with us today?
Sure, thanks. And again, thanks for inviting me. I really wish I could be there in person. And it's getting a little closer to all of us being in the same room at the same time. And it's getting a little bit easier. So I certainly hope that either next year or sooner, we're all in the same place at the same time together, so we don't have to do as much virtually. So that would be great. But I appreciate the question, and I have been in the payment space a long time. In fact, I have seen many transformations over the years in payments, but I have looked at the issuing side, I have looked at the acquiring side, I've done the gift cards, private label, open networks like Visa and MasterCard and Amex and others. The one thing that I see common is that there's a lot of innovation in this space. And not only is there innovation in the products themselves, but the innovation in the way that our customers use the products or want to use the products. So, for example, things like virtual cards, cross-border payments. How do I convert from one currency to another easily and convert back? How do I sell in other countries? So I have kind of devoted many years, 20 plus years, to trying to solve some of these issues for our clients around the world. But as you said, I was with Citibank in the beginning, built a B2B program at GE, ended up selling that to American Express, then went to PayPal and built their consumer side and their small business platform for their customers around the world. And kind of the culmination of all those things is what I hope to create here and is already underway at Payoneer.
Thank you so much, Robert, for sharing that. And of course, we are looking forward to be, out there, Payoneer as a, payments platform, achieve those heights as well. Segueing into, the emerging global trends that we see nowadays, in the last 2 years, we have seen massive growth in the cross-border commerce. And as we are, slowly emerging out of the COVID-induced, lockdown across the world, what are some of the key trends that we are seeing emerge, which is impacting global commerce, according to you?
So you're exactly right. Obviously, COVID for the last 18 months or so has been a tremendous headwind to a lot of businesses and the way that we used to do business. But in some ways, it actually accelerated some of the trends that were already starting to germinate around the world, which is cross-border, small businesses being able to sell everywhere as opposed to more locally or domestically. And so we were starting to see that pre-COVID, where certain platforms would help small businesses sell around the world, or the businesses themselves would set up their own brand and then use tools like Payoneer to be able to sell to customers all around the world. And so in some ways, COVID has created a series of obstacles for growth, but in many ways, it's actually accelerated some of the initiatives that small businesses and small business platforms had already in place. And so some of the trends that we're seeing is that, again, SMBs tended to have a smaller radius of the customers that they would serve. And because of COVID and because of the lack of ability to set up shops in different countries, they were forced to kind of take from a central location in one country and sell to multiple countries in an easy manner. And so traditionally has been more difficult to do because the customer has to understand who they're doing business with. There's a certain element of trust in any transaction between buyer and seller. And the more distance that exists between those buyers and sellers, physical distance, or just from a education standpoint, knowing the seller or knowing the buyer creates more uncertainty. So part of our mission and part of what we're seeing as a trend is if the buyer doesn't necessarily know the seller, or the buyer isn't in the same country as the seller, how can we create kind of this common known element between them where they both feel comfortable doing business with each other until they know each other better? And I think this is also an extension of the way that SMBs around the world use a platform to get their business started. And so they sell through a platform, but eventually their goal is to create their own brand and their own customer base and their own way of establishing a relationship with their buyers around the world. And we always want to facilitate that as well, because we know at the end of the day, building your own brand should always be part of the end aspirational goal of these businesses. And we feel like we're successful when we help businesses establish their own brand and their own customer relationship strategies.
Thank you so much, Robert, for that answer, because today we have with us a lot of e-com sellers from India who are selling internationally and are here to really understand how they can take their brands global and establish their brand not just in India but outside of India and grow. So
you're exactly right, and in fact, not only is it just selling globally, but there could be other tools like working capital or various ways to pay for their suppliers. So there's not just the buyer to seller relationship, but there's also the B2B relationships that we also want to solve for, because almost every product has some cost of goods sold associated with it, right? They're buying resources, they're buying technologies, they're buying services to help assemble their services that they then go and sell to their end users. And we want to facilitate that as well. Not only do we want to make the SMBs successful to their customers, but we also want to make sure that they have the easiest time doing business to set up their own supply chain. And so, that we look at the sale to the customer and also all of the events and elements that occurred before the sale itself that we can also help with.
Robert, a follow-up questions to that. Now, we are talking about the SMBs over here. What would be your advice to these SMBs for them to move to the next level or be successful at the global platform or internationally?
So this is kind of the golden ring, right? That everybody, how are we successful? And there's many paths to it, but I'll say a few common kind of universal truths are one, being able to understand customers around the world as well as you understand the customers that are near you is a very important component to that, and so that's how do I market effectively to customers that listen to or get messages differently than my domestic customers. How do I establish not only the ability to communicate with those potential buyers around the world, but also the distribution, the logistics if it's a physical good, the regulatory environment if it's a digital or other forms of IP, because those are elements that the better you understand that, the more competitive your product and service is, because you're easy to do business with, because you understand the buying criteria. The other thing that I would say is, always look to build your own brand in addition to leveraging the brands of others. Throughout my career, you mentioned a lot of the companies I was with, or whether it was Citi or GE or PayPal or others. That's one brand that, and Payoneer also is a brand that you can leverage to help build your own brand as a business. But at the end, the end goal should be that customers understand your value proposition, your mission statement, and what you can do for them. And our job at Payoneer and within payments and working capital and some of the other services we have is to eliminate some of the distractions in payments so that you can concentrate on customers, product, and your brand. And so, if we're doing our job well, it's a seamless event between buyer and seller so that you can really differentiate on, again, product, service, and brand.
Wow. Robert, that was like such a perfect, points as to how to, go global and, be successful for an SMB. Like it's like a blueprint of what they need to do. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really, like you talked about Payoneer and how we have like Payoneer as a brand. And, earlier this year, Payoneer went IPO. So, one of the questions where, a lot of our existing customers, want to know is, post IPO, where is Payoneer headed? And, what should they expect out of Payoneer in the coming years?
So, believe me, this is the one that keeps me up at night, right? Especially since we just recently had our second earnings call as a publicly traded company. So every 90 days we get to give ourselves a little report card on how things are going. So it never lets up. But I would say this, being public offers many advantages. And I've actually taken 3 different companies public over the years. So I kind of understand the transformation. But one of the more critical ones is I see growth in 2 different forms. One is, how do I do more business with more customers? That's one, and that's kind of your traditional model, which is how do I sell to more people? How do I become more relevant to more SMBs around the world? The second, though, is what more can I do for the SMBs I already have as business partners? And so, one of the things I think going public does is it gives you kind of the resources and maybe the breadth of opportunities to do more with your current customers. So it allows us to invest in businesses that we can sell and service alongside of the cross-border payments or the billing services that we provide. And so again, it could be working capital, it could be B2B, it could be some kind of ad tech or marketing technologies that we could ride alongside of the services, again, in the same goal as the original, which is helping our customers grow their businesses. But we realize that there are a lot of things that we might be able to provide those SMBs in order to help them grow their business beyond just accepting and providing cross-border payments, right? So working capital is a great example of if we can help you invest in your business to grow. And a great example of that is any seasonal business where you have a buying and selling season, and then you have an accumulation season for the goods and services that you will eventually sell in the next season. We want to make sure that we can make that a little bit smoother. Also, make it very easy for you to not only sell on one platform, to sell on many platforms, and to build your own business individually there. So is that marketing? Is that marketing technology? Is that a B2B process? So those are the elements that going public had now allowed us to do, which is it essentially unlocks a lot of resources that we had previously kind of in the private capacity. Now we have them in the public markets, so that it gives us ability to invest in businesses or services that we think will help our SMBs around the world. So it's a good problem to have, that we have money to invest, but it's now we have to invest it wisely, and basically it will be an extension of the folks that are in your forum today, which is, what are the services that you're looking for us to provide? How can we do it most efficiently for you? And what are we not thinking about that we should be thinking about to help you grow your businesses?
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I think that's really exciting. I think our customers will be really excited to know that, we are thinking in those lines to really take their business and how we can facilitate them to grow their business and, provide them with all these different services and products which will help them, expand and do better in the market. Robert, now just, as we are coming to the end of this little conversation, that we just wanted to end it in a lighter note. So, just a few questions. The first one that I would love to, ask you is, what is one of your admired brands? Because we have so many brands in India, that many of them are part of these forums. So just a question to understand, what's your favorite brand, admired brand rather?
So I have many brands that I admire. Within India, I think Reliance Jio is a great brand, and I've always kind of admired them. Tata Motors is another one where I think they're just an amazing organization and able to take pre-existing brands and kind of rejuvenate them again and give them new life. On a global basis, I think that like a Microsoft or a Tesla does an amazing job at creating, maybe Microsoft in more of an old school fashion where it's stability, it's this kind of confidence that they infuse in their brand, which I think is just amazing. And then of course, a Tesla, which is just anything is possible. Like literally, rocket ships are possible. It's one thing to think big; it's another thing to literally leave the planet. Like that's pretty aspirational goal, and somehow they get there. So I do think back to why I think it's important for us in this forum is thinking big is really part of the growth journey. Like, redefine what big really is. And for our SMB partners, like, here's what you sell and here's what you sell to the customers today. Well, every one of those customers buys other services. Every one of those customers knows people who also could use those customers. How big could your businesses be? And honestly, I will look forward to the ways that I can, our business can help you get as big as possible.
Wow. No, thank you so much, Robert, for sharing that. I think, this is the best place where we could end this conversation, because it's given us this, inspired all of us to think big, go out there, and we have Payoneer who can really support all our customers to make it big and just go after, whatever they are looking for to expand their business. And really, thank you so much.
I will tell you that if I were going to leave with one thought, it is I think of Payoneer's success as being a byproduct of the success of our customers. So when our customers are successful, we're successful, and the more successful our customers are, secondarily, Payoneer will be successful. So I do want the folks to know that are in this forum and in future forums that our goal and our success is based solely on the success of our customers. So, if you have an idea that will help us help you, or you have a place that you want Payoneer to go because it will benefit your businesses, please let us know, because that's exactly where we will find your success and subsequently down the road our success.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us today. If we have more questions from our customers, we're going to send you an email and get you to another one of these forums to answer those. So really appreciate you taking out time and being with us today. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for joining. And I look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Thanks.